It's the weekly 30-30 trading list. We're finding the best momentum companies on the ASX and identifying those that are set to run next. The man guiding us through the charts, he's been through the list, he's picked out his favourites, is Gary Glover from Novus Capital. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, Chris. Yeah, I've actually done more than actually go through the list and pick them out. I've actually even traded one from the list this morning here. So I won't tell you which one, but yeah, I thought it was actually a really interesting list here, actually. So yeah.
Well, this is good. Well, we might be able to gauge by your excitement which one you've picked.
I'll try and disguise the best I
can. Before we jump into the list, we might just take a quick moment, an opportunity to say thanks very much for the support for everyone who's following, liking the videos. That does support the channel. Your comments are great. We do get some good questions, and occasionally we can surface them in a video like this. We do often get questions about how to follow and keep up with Gary. You can do them in these videos and subscribe down the bottom. And he also has his Twitter handle, which we'll put at the end as well. So there's a bit of the housekeeping out of the way, the regular questions. We've had the 30-30 list on screen, and we're going to delve in to the quarterly momentum. These are the ones that are roaring ahead. We know they're leading, but who's leading the most? Which one stood out to you the most this week, Gary?
Well, just there's number one there, which is Renascor Resources, RNU. Pretty not hard to get a sort of signal in there. WGO. Apart from this little pause in the middle there, did have a nice pop and gap, and then a bit of a pause in there. That's probably the only little, I don't mind sort of seeing that type of thing, a little consolidation, but look at that break there. So that's pretty strong still, but hard to sort of trade that. And IVZ was number 3. Invictus Energy there, again, bit messy there. The secondary bounce here is a little lighter in volume, so considering the stock, how it trades, it is a pretty volatile up and down sort of stock, so it makes it a little tricky there as well. So those are 3 there. Okay, the next number 4 was actually Bellevue Gold, and this is, we've been talking about gold stocks here for the last month here, Chris, how I think they hit the launch pad there, I'm guessing around 4 weeks ago. I think might have had quite a few, we had 4 or 5 sort of stocks hit the launch pad. And I think every week since then, it's been another 3 or 4 stocks in the launch pad, and more importantly, in the momentum, or in our quarterly momentum, we're getting quite a lot of stocks actually popping up in here. So Bellevue Gold was number 4, pretty strong. I think we've got Sandfire at 14, again pretty robust. I think Evolution is in there, number 15, again pretty strong as well. Northern Star, which is probably one of the leading stocks there. NST, look how strong that is. It's had a few little pauses in here, but yeah, showing some pretty strong. So just getting Gold Road in there as well, number 19. So really, gold is I think is the leading sector here. So I think there's Regis is in there, Anglo Gold's in there. Yeah, there's so many gold stocks in our top 30 here. So definitely seeing some big moves from the gold here. Interesting thing there is if you look look at the sort of heavyweight there, Newcrest. Got to put this into perspective here. This is sort of weekly here, so just showing signs of sort of strength there. But we're now sort of breaking through the bottom of the sort of previous swing low there. So that's a pretty good sign there. You look at Northern Star as well on the weekly here. This is a bigger picture. Just sometimes the daily sort of comes in disguise here, what's going on, but the weeklies are sort of pretty robust here. So look at those moves there. That's pretty impulsive there. So pretty strong here. As I was saying, we're talking about how we've seen value stocks really emerge here. We've seen energy stocks, do obviously brilliantly. And those are sort of signs here. There's signs, obviously, which consistent with sort of high inflationary periods of the past. But gold's been the one laggard here, which historically hasn't moved here recently, considering the current environment we're in, which is pretty pro precious metals. So interesting here that we're seeing so many of those gold stocks. So I think the way to look at those now, Chris, is that they are all getting a little bit extended here and a bit high. but the weekly chart does show that they can keep running. So the key now is just to probably wait for these little consolidations, wait for a little pause, wait for a little sideways, and then sort of come into it there. Other stock on the list there was Chalice Mining, number 9, CHN. So I think it was sort of stock that we talked about previously. It was starting to pop out to have some, I think it had some pretty good volume down here previously. Bit of a consolidation, low volume, good volume again, little pause on light volume, good volume again, pause on light volume, good volume again. So that's exactly the type of thing we want to see here, sort of break of a downtrend, break of a channel, and then start to see volume there. It doesn't need to be any harder than that. And look at that, there's our 50-day moving average. So we crack the 50, come back, sit on top of it, and then go. So, you know, it's not rocket science, this sort of stuff. It's you know, we just want to sort of see which sectors are emerging, see a break of a channel, look for volume, start to sort of see signs of building, a few higher lows, just looking at the volume there. Yeah, so that Paykel was number 13. That's pretty interesting as well. So again, in our sector, which is sort of moving here, so that's sort of healthcare, biotech as well. But started to see a little bit here. Through this early stages here, it was positive there, but the volumes are pretty light. And then you sort of saw this pop here out of the range and good volume. That's probably the first real good sign there. Then we saw this little nice tight consolidation there. I actually did trade some of this, but I wasn't expecting it to really motor here. I think there was an announcement which sort of gapped up here. So it ended up sort of hitting my stop before I knew what was going on. I just had a pretty busy week, so I couldn't watch everything closely this week. But still good trade. Just probably, if I'd seen that news, I might have held on or pushed my.
So hit your stop or hit your profit target?
Hit my target, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had basically, I think, probably entered this consolidation in here. Might have even been this day here, coming out of this. Might have been a little B wave break in here. Yeah, it didn't have a big position on, just because it's really, that's up into that point there was the first day that actually, to me, it actually looked positive, because it's sort of, it's been pretty light volume through here. Although we've sort of got our 0, 1, 2, sort of 3 in here, which is, you know, our sort of 3 high lows and stuff there. That was really the first day there, just sort of piercing up on some decent volume getting through there. But had a bit of a move in a consolidation there, and I think it hit my target up in here somewhere. But yeah, sometimes it's, you know, it's nice having a stop and target in there. You can be, you know, sometimes they gap up and hit you out nice and high, and then the whole thing fades, and it's brilliant. Other times it can hit you out and keep going, and then you go, oh, I could have got more. But yeah, it's hard there. I sort of yeah. For me, it's more important to sort of control my risk. That's the main thing for me. It's always having the stop in place and take. I just, you know, so I've got lots of things sort of going on. So you know, it's like a lot of people out there, if they've got other jobs possibly, then yeah, it's just having the stops and targets in place is a good way to go. I think it just sort of, I'd rather have that peace of mind knowing the downside risk is in place than having no stop in place and not knowing. So CIA was the other one on the list there. I think that was number 20. Nice. The only thing there was had a nice gap up, bit of a consolidation in there. Thing you did see through here, Chris, is the volume did sort of dry up here. So even that day there was still pretty light there, and then we got a little bit of a pierce there. So we got a nice little breakout here. Could maybe, you know, if you're a shorter term trader, you could probably sort of see some sort of consolidation in here. And then once we break out through, maybe, you know, half hourly, you might have got a break in here. You got a bit of a move there, so not too bad there. A4N Alpha is again another one that's had a pretty good break and a bit of a consolidation here, and then another pretty strong move here. So yeah, not too much sort of. I think Regis we've talked about, another gold stock, and Mesoblast, which we did actually chat about a few weeks back, and just sort of said that wasn't the worst looking chart out there. Has managed to climb here. bit of a tricky one to trade here, just background, but there's a sector that is leading here. So that's interesting. But yeah, so a bit on the quarterly list. So there's a few, I mean, heaps of gold stocks in there, a few sort of healthcare biotechs in there, and not too many. There's a couple of sort of iron ore. There might have been one lithium play in there, and I think that's it really. I think probably a bit of a mixed bag in there. So most of the lithium stocks have dropped out of there, Chris, which is pretty interesting as well.
So the lithium's out, but the gold's in.
Yeah. That's we'll get these moves here within these commodities here. So, yeah, that's normal for one commodity to sort of go a bit cold, and another one, a new one, to heat up here. So, yeah, one stock that did sort of catch my eye here was this Dreadnought Resources, which is in that rare earth space. So, big VCP sort of happening here. Some pretty big volume through this whole phase here. Then we had a bit of a pullback there, much lighter volume. Then we sort of good volume again, sort of driven up, and all the volume's dried right up here. Started to see a bit of volume come in here. So some good signs there, but yeah, so that's interesting there. It's interesting. I know some of the rare earths have sort of started to cool here, but still a bit of room for some of these newer ones here. STX Strike Energy, some pretty big volume too off this move here. I think there's sort of, these guys were sort of, I think they were in a merger there, and then someone's bid over for the other company, so it's, probably they won't be involved anymore. So, but had a nice little move here. Not sure I'll be chasing that one. RAC, Race Oncology there. So again, now sort of bio, sort of medical, so impulsive moves. So big volume down the low here, bit of a congestion phase. Good volume again here into our high, and another pullback here, so congesting. Start to see a little bit of volume here. The only negative I saw was that 1 day down. Had a bit of a nice spike up here, some good volume, bit of volume there, but yeah, we've seen
big down candle.
Yeah, that's the only negative bar I see there in the whole time. Whereas that's had a nice move up here. Okay, volume. So we'll probably want to see this consolidate here, but this could be one to keep an eye on, because this sort of, quite kind of building here as well. And look at our sort of weekly sort of setup as well. This might be the start here of a move here. So definitely sort of one to really keep a close eye on here, because that's a good leading sector. Looks pretty good. AVR, Anteris Technologies, another VCP in there, Chris. So pull back in here. So this is sort of, you might sort of call this, basically this is just sort of pull back in here, put in a high low, and then and obviously another sort of another sort of higher low in place here. Main thing there, we're probably seeing a bit more volume down off the lows there, and then we saw some pretty good volume up into this high here as well. But main thing is this thing has sort of been building here. It's probably broken our sort of down trend here. And if we look at this on the bigger picture, this is really interesting here. Is that the weekly picture? Wow, look at that. This thing's been rounding up here, building momentum there, sitting on top of the previous high, going again. Probably overlapped a little bit here, but still sort of a nice consolidation in here, and a pretty strong upward trend here. So all good. So looks pretty good.
Right. Well, I won't ask you, but if anyone wants to leave a comment below if they think that's the one that you've traded, we'll keep watching to see if there's anything else that you like even more. But I don't know. I'm not going to ask, but they can leave their comments below. What's your next one?
So the next one there is, which I thought again was really interesting here, was this MAP. So this is a new company, and in that sort of Microbalife Sciences. So new company, I think, in that stem cells and sort of testing area. So again, this is another, again, we're looking for sort of new leadership here. So obviously I think it floated here, 45 cents, have a bit of a fade, but now starting to recover. I see Sonic Healthcare actually has gone on the register, has taken a strategic stake in this group here, so which is a pretty pretty positive sort of news there. This is a bit of a leading sector as well, sort of biotech, sort of healthcare as well. So I think they took the stake around 26 cents. I think so. This is definitely one to sort of keep on the radar here, being a new company. The fact that Sonic's got involved here and taken a stake as well, always interesting. Sort of get a bit of a look at the tech and whether you want to possibly buy the whole thing later on, or not. So, but yeah, it's a bit of a partnership in there. But that's good all the way around. But that's a really interesting stock here to sort of keep an eye on there, just because that's a sort of leading sector here. So we've got a few biotechs, a few healthcare stocks looking pretty interesting in the list. Which, if you've been following any of the US sort of stuff, a lot of the leadership group in the States there is, I think, solar and biomedical are the two leading sectors currently in the US market. DEV is basically sort of a uranium sort of miner there. So I know they've got a bit of everything in here, but the uranium's the big part here. Good volume too on this, sort of after putting in a high low here, another high low in here. We've got good volume out of this drive here. So, breaking a sort of downtrend and popping up here on good volume. That's a good sort of early sort of signs there. So this is sort of one to watch here for a little consolidation there. A little small, but definitely energy, great sector. Uranium, not too many sort of newer companies in that space there. So that looks quite good. SGM Sims Limited. This looks pretty good as well. Basically, sort of got a little higher low in here. Got a little VCP, little triangulation in here, and starting to sort of break out there, breaking out to a new high as well is a positive sign. So that.
How do you read that big spike in early November where it drops down significantly and then comes back up? Do you read that as sort of a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, no, the good things. So, I mean, we saw Ramsay Healthcare sort of do a lot of work here and then had a little spike low and then off it went. There's a few stocks here. I'm just trying to think of the other stocks. There's been a few stocks that have sort of gone down, sort of washed out, and then recovered as well. So
what it's supported that it went down there. It was only there for a day or two and then came back into the range pretty quickly and has held it.
Yeah, that's right. So I think actually Dexus is on the list and it's done exactly the same thing as Ramsay. So there's sees that little spring there, a little spike low, big exhaustion on the volume there. So when you go to the slightly low and then the next day here, that's always a good sign for me. It looks like a little false break here. So whether Wyckoff calls it the spring there, but when you see it go to a new low, particularly sort of big volume there, it's almost an exhaustion of the sellers, and then it doesn't follow through. That's always a good sign here. What's Dexus done since then? It's sort of climbed up here. But that SGM there is interesting there. Obviously the daily's got the little sort of
BCP kind of.
Yeah, little sort of tightening, little patterning, little BCP in there. Getting above the 50 moving average, bit of volume down there. But if we look at our weekly sort of setup, we see that again we're sort of we probably get a weekly sort of swing low in here. We're just starting to see a bit of volume, sort of come in here. So looks pretty good. So yeah, I think that looks pretty positive as well. So next chart there is EML, which is sort of I wouldn't have thought would be in there, but again we're sort of seeing this exhaustive type volume here, Chris. Bit of a bounce and recovery, bit of a grind back here, and we started to see some volume starting to maybe break out here. So you might sort of see this if you saw a little B wave break in here, sort of something around there. That you saw that volume coming through there. Yeah, it could have been a short trade. There's probably one that I wouldn't have traded myself. Just don't really like the sector, but we've seen a few of them here break on the list there. I think Tyro, which we did talk about previously, basically shows some pretty good signs and build here, and then just the beauty of these things is when you sort of see them go through these sideways consolidations and where they dry up and there's no volume, just shows you that there's sort of, there's no selling going on. They're struggling to push the stocks down here. So whether you like them or not, if you see the stock sort of have a pop here on good volume and then go sideways, then 9 times out of 10 they're going to go higher here. So you can always fail here, but it's the mathematics game here. The odds are in the favour of sort of going higher. So EML's sort of got some positive there. The short term there, struggling to go down. Impulsive move off that exhaustive low, so pretty interesting. The other one I thought was interesting was sort of bigger. Again, a nice little higher low in here, little VCP, little tightening little triangle in here, and then once we broke the 50 here, we've had a little pop here. So this is one that I actually did trade, Chris. I did like to look at this. Just a stock that I wouldn't trade big. I only had a small position there just because it's not the most liquid stock here. And but yeah, it's had a nice little move.
Well, that gives us a few charts to add to the watch list for the week to see if we can pick up some trades. If you think you know which one Gary traded, leave it in the comments below. We should note on the right-hand side, he's mentioned a few strategies that we've covered in more detail. He's talked about the volatility contraction pattern. Gary's talked about the false break, or as he said, Wyckoff called that the spring. There's also a few other patterns in that whole playlist that's on the right-hand side there. We go into those in more detail or pull snippets out of previous interviews where Gary's explained them with a good example on the charts. Also on the right-hand side is Gary's normal Tuesday playlist. This is his weekly report that he sends out to his clients and helps describe the trades that he's placing. He talks about the trades that will be on his watch list for the week and ones that he may be picking up or trading as the opportunity presents itself. So that's the Tuesday playlist. On the left-hand side, we did mention that Gary's moderately active on Twitter, and you can follow him on the left-hand side by picking up his Twitter handle. To that extent, we do say if you want to support the channel, click the like. That helps circulate the video, gets us more promotion, so we do thank you for that. Thank you for watching, and we'll come back again next week.